How do I do it all? The Brezza gives me the power.
And so they meet again. After deciding the title bout on the 26th of May 2024, the Kolkata Knight Riders are ready to once again take on a team they beat 3 times last season in the form of the Sunrisers Hyderabad. In both teams have realised in 3 games each for this season so far that the road to playoffs is going to be anything but smooth. Just the one win for both Ajinkya Rahane and Pat Cummins. And we are at the Eden Gardens again, where we look at the teams and the surface they play on very closely. On Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Time Out. Build up to it in the company of Sanjay Bangar. Matt Roller's back, but might we all welcome for the first time on our couch one of South Africa's all-time greats, and of course, most recently the Mumbai Indians, Mark Boucher. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Likewise, Mark. And how are you enjoying little time off in the first 2 weeks of the tournament? Now settling in as the tournament begins to heat up a little, shall we say?
Yeah, look, I mean, there's been some interesting results, but I think it's a little bit too early to start pushing teams ahead of each other. I actually quite like it. It's nice and close at the start of the tournament, but I got a feeling these next 3 or 4 games is going to get where the big weights start stepping forward.
Yeah.
And you're going to start seeing sides, 1 or 2 sides under a bit of pressure.
I'm sure you would have caught enough of the action, but were you at all surprised 2 days ago when you just checked in on the points table? I'm hoping on Cricinfo, and saw Punjab, Bangalore, Delhi, top 3, the holy trinity of the tournament that have never won it. It tells us a story, I guess, of
it does,
how close it could be.
It tells you that how evenly matched the teams are. You got all the big guns hanging at the bottom of the table, probably places that they're not used to being in. So there's different pressures there. And then all the teams that everyone's been talking about. Everyone's talking about RCB. Could this be the year that they go forward and pick up the trophy? Well, they're sitting at the top of the table, a place that they haven't really been before.
Yeah.
So there's different pressures there as well.
IPL's won in May, not in March, not in April. Mark Boucher, of course, is one of the original RCB boys. I don't know if he still has that RCB heart in him. He's, of course, been at KKR. He's been at Mumbai Indians in the coaching staff. And Sanjay Bangar also has a bit of RCB in him, I'm sure. But for now, I just want to ask you, looking at the last 3 days, Sanjay, whether the conversation in the teams has now started becoming, right, guys, we can't be going all out and losing 7, 8, 9 wickets. We can't have Pat Cummins batting in the 14th over and Mohammad Shami in the 16th over. We need to perhaps bat a bit differently. Are we there yet, Mr. Bangar?
If you're talking of SRH, it's not going to happen. That's for sure, because they're going to go one way. That is the way that has given them success. They have the players to do the things that they are expecting them to do. But apart from them, some of the teams, yes, we read a little bit about KKR and Bravo, just talking about, how they need to just see the conditions as well. So those conversations will start happening with the teams who are not probably that equipped, but I don't think some of the other teams like an LSG,
right,
who have stacked up their bat with 4 overseas batters as well as SRH, they're going to do anything different.
Well, these 2 teams are both guilty of almost going too hard too soon. SRH did in their last game against Lucknow. KKR did it at the Wankhede against Mumbai. The toss becomes crucial, therefore. It's been won by Pat Cummins and he's put the home team in. So KKR will bat first. Trends and patterns, Matt Roller. We've seen 3 games on the trot with the team winning by 8 wickets quite comfortably after the captains decided to bowl.
Yeah, very interesting. I suppose it's probably too early for Dew to have played sort of a major role in that. But I think what you have seen and what we've spoken about as well is that teams are going incredibly hard up front, generally trying to get ahead of the game in the power play. And that has, in some cases, lended itself to an early collapse. And I think we actually saw examples of this when these 2 teams played against each other in the playoffs last year. You think Sunrisers went really hard batting first, lost wickets early on. And one of the patterns actually with Sunrisers, with this very destructive opening pair they have with Travis Head and Abhishek Sharma, is that when those 2 are both out inside the power play, that's happened 6 times since the start of last season, and they've lost 5 of those games, which is no real surprise because they're so destructive. But 2 of those games obviously were against KKR last year, and no doubt the same bowler in Vaibhav Arora will be licking his lips to try and get in the contest, having not played at the Wankhede.
Interesting.
And there's no Mitch Starc, but Spencer Johnson, I thought, looked really good in Mumbai the other night.
Right. I want to first just talk about whether these head-to-heads matter as much to the players and the management inside the dugout as much as we enjoy talking about it outside. Yes, KKR blew away Sunrisers last time 3 times. Does that hold true at all? Is there any sentiment of that, Mark Boucher?
The media remind the players So it will be there if the players are looking at media and social media and that they'll get a reminder that that's what's happened. So there's a bit of history there. But these teams that change so many times, you get new players in with new roles, all that type of stuff. It shouldn't really bother them. It's just another game of cricket for them. I agree with Sanjay as well. I don't see any change with the way Sunrisers, who have really been the catalyst of going out and really taking the game on, I don't think there's going to be any change from them. But these teams, they change all the time, as I said.
Are you spending more time, though, on individuals who have got the better of you from that team? Like Matt points out, it's not just Stark, there's Vaibhav Arora there. Now, would that be a longer conversation today, given what happened last season? And Sunrisers at least have same set of openers.
Individually, some of the players may think of how they could play a little bit differently in the roles that have been given to them by the management.
Is that something you prefer as management? Or the players come and say, like, what have we picked up last year? This guy's got me 3 times. How do you balance?
It all boils down to the individual, because you have to understand the individual. You're just not trying to teach something. You're just also trying to get ideas of each other. Travis Head,
I'm laughing right now because I'm thinking, Travis Head's probably reading his notes.
No, because
asking for the analyst.
I remember watching that Champions Trophy game, and Daniel Vittori was part of the Australian setup there as well. And on the just during the warm-up, I think Travis Head went and was just asking Dan Vittori about, how does Varun bowl? Does he do this? Does he do that?
Right.
So that conversation happened pretty late for him to really get anything out of it. So those are the type of players, at times the players just want to be left alone.
Sure.
And that is whether you like it or not, but that is T20 cricket.
I love these storytellings, and Mark, you can feel free as well if there are sort of anecdotes you remember of how players perhaps are different when it comes to approaching what we like to call matchups, but how does it manifest from behind?
Yeah, I agree.
Inside?
Different players, some players will sort of prepare 2-3 days before, which they probably should do, because then they can go into the nets and they can work on something. Then you get a guy who's going to play in this game as well, Quinton de Kock.
Yeah.
If a coach goes towards him and says to him, listen, this is how I want you to prepare. He's going to go, listen, coach, give me a golf stick. Let me go play around a golf. That's how I'm going to prepare. I don't need any information. I see ball and I hit ball. That's it. And you don't want to disrupt that.
And last season, I also had this experience. Like I noticed the thing about Johnny Bairstow.
Right.
At the point of release, he literally used to be, on the toes as he was like facing the ball, and then he dips a little bit. And I tried to initiate that conversation that, hey Johnny, I felt that this is something. Johnny said, don't worry about that, coach. As long as I'm seeing the ball, I just want to react to it. So that's it, end of conversation.
You guys really confuse me, because there's that, and then I see these long videos of Justin Langer on social media telling Deepak Hooda exactly what to do, and it seems like a masterclass. I'm thinking, I could use this, but everyone's different, as simple as that. Tosses are playing a key role in recent times, and let's just confirm the team for the Knight Riders changes from the one that did win the IPL all that time back. Now this is interesting. Moeen Ali plays and Spencer Johnson doesn't. This is the batting first 11, but they have named their full complement of 4 overs. Moeen, who came in as a replacement for Sunil Narine in the one game that he was ill, but you got Narine and de Kock at the top. Everything remains the same left of screen. Moeen to partner Andre Russell. That means Moeen and Chakravarti and Sunil Narine. What kind of surface can we expect today, Sanjay Bangar, at the Eden Gardens?
I don't really think that the surface is going to change, and at times, as much it is difficult to see at the surface and predict it, but it always plays true. So I don't really think that it is got anything to do with the surface. It could be something to do with the matchups, wherein they certainly want to bowl a lot of off spin, maybe inside the power play, to Abhishek Sharma and Travis Head.
And there's Ishan after that. You got 3 left-handers. Does this scream of a matchup selection, Mark?
I agree with that. I disagree with regards to the pitch. I think the pitch will probably be a little bit drier than we saw the last one. There's been a little bit of media pressure, a couple of things that have been said about the pitch. And, you'd like to think that your captain's always going to get what he wants. So I think that with the pitch maybe being a bit slower and taking a bit more turn, that's a great matchup for the left-handers and bringing Moeen Ali in.
How was your relationship with the MI curator at Wankhede?
Yeah, he was good. He was good, but I think he knows where his bread is buttered as well. So there was always conversations that were had, and we'd like to get obviously the conditions suiting our team. That's called home advantage.
Yes.
And you'd like to think that happens in other grounds as
It's
well.
only a polite request from the way you're putting it.
It's a polite request.
Yeah.
Yeah, with
More
a gun
often.
held to the back of your head.
As you rightly have educated me, Mr. Bangar, like so every individual is different. So maybe there are curators who would accept Mr. Boucher's request, and maybe other curators, perhaps more east in the country, who may not necessarily accept the captain or coach's request.
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, I had really good experience of my dealings with the teams which were down south.
Yes.
Not so much with the teams which are now up north.
Length and breadth of the country. It's all about our diversity. What matchups scream today, Matt Roller, with the selection of your good friend Moeen Ali, who you've been, of course, been parading since the start of the season. Both you and Nick Knight, thankfully, reduced the English compliment by one. But make sense of this.
Well, I would imagine that Moeen will probably bowl in the power play based on that selection. I think the other thing that really screams out is the extra batting depth for KKR. If you think in their game on Monday night against MI, they ended up subbing in Manish Pandey while batting first because they had that collapse. And they've ended up, looking at that 11, they have Ramandeep Singh listed at number 9, who we know is a pretty capable ball striker down the order. So it looks like, rather than the idea being maybe they might adapt, as Sanjay said, Bravo hinted at in the media, it looks like a team that can go really, really hard because they, if they've got Dre Russ listed at 8 and Ramandeep at number 9, that's proper batting depth.
I mean, at this point, if you're playing that sort of a batting lineup, and you're saying that, okay, let there be a little bit of a constraint, I think they've picked the wrong team by having Raghuvanshi there in their batting 11.
Right.
They're just lengthening the batting, which would mean that maybe somebody like a Russell or a Ramandeep could potentially be wasted. I mean, their opportunity may not come. And hence, having somebody like a Venkatesh Iyer at 4 would have made greater sense.
Yeah, you said this in the last game too, where you would have had, if you were batting first, Raghuvanshi potentially on the bench and bring him in only if you need him. Mark?
For me, that's a bit of an issue, and I'll tell you why, is that I think that sometimes if you lengthen your batting too much,
Yes.
the batters don't take responsibility. It's almost like, okay, we've got batters behind us, we can just keep going. And as you alluded to, in this competition so far, a lot of teams have gone too hard, too early, and they haven't left anything at the back end. There are batters in that top 4 or 5 there that should be batting for at least 14, 15 overs.
Yeah.
Sometimes that doesn't happen when your batting lineup is too long because you start thinking, I'm eating up too many balls here.
Sure.
There's strikers behind me who can bat at 200. But they're not going to bat at 200 if they get in the 10th over because then they're going to have to be doing the hard yards. And that's the danger in having too many batters.
Yeah, it seems like quite a drastic shift. It's not just a simple swap for one particular game or a matchup because what you're missing today is Spencer Johnson. And that's changing the makeup of, I'm guessing, a lot of bowling responsibilities. Who takes the new ball, who potentially bowls at the death. And I wonder if this seems like quite a severe reaction so early in the season.
It may potentially also be related to the fact that Andre Russell's back bowling. He obviously didn't bowl the ball in the first 2 games and did bowl at the Wankhede. So maybe if he's now considered a genuine bowling option who can bowl his 4 overs with good pace as he did last year, maybe that's a part of the thought. But yeah, it does feel like a major shift in strategy to get rid of a left arm swing bowler with the new ball and bring in an off spinning all rounder.
Let's spend some time on this. I think this is a really interesting storyline early-ish in the season about what you've said, Mark, about the determination to bat a certain way. Sanjay has mentioned the language of T20 cricket such. It's so hard to convince batters otherwise now. You can't be seems like you're injecting doubt. But with MI last season, also strong batting lineup, deep batting lineup. But you're seeing this happen about batters taking responsibility. How do you strike a balance? What's the right messaging to give here?
Well, I think number one, you've got to have the right players to be able to do it. You look at just Sunrisers, as I say, they've been the catalyst for really going hard.
Sure.
They've got 2 players up front there who were in very good form last season. They started off the competition well, so you just ride on that momentum. They're very aggressive players. And so first of all, you need those players. You need those players in form as well. It's useless coming to a batter and saying to him, listen, I want you to go and bat at 200% strike rate in the power play, and he's got no runs behind his name. It's quite difficult for a player to go out there because then he gets out once or twice cheaply, and then he's thinking about his position in the team. So I think the balance is, first of all, the understanding that this is the way that the guy plays. So it's nothing new to him. He needs to be in good form. And then, he needs to be backed for more than 1 or 2 games. And I think that's where Sunrisers have got it so right in the past.
Sure.
Sharma, for me, he needs to get some runs if he wants to play like that. He needs a bit of form going his way, and he can ride on the momentum of that. Otherwise, he's going to start doubting himself in the way that he's playing.
What about sort of telling batters to recalibrate, if that is indeed a term you use? I mean, you talk about simulation, Sanjay, where what if the team is 4-5 down? Like we saw yesterday with Jitesh and Livingston, and how that actually is taught or ingrained in the players, and how you'd like to see it unfold, because we've not seen much of it in this year's IPL.
I would say 2 points to it. I agree with Mark on the thing that you should have the player who has to have the capability. Like if you look at Virat Kohli, he can bat both ways. Wherein whenever he wants to up the tempo, he can clearly go at a strike rate of 150 or progressively increase the strike rate. That is one. And the second part is obviously having that impact sub coming in. You literally want your top 4 to bat in a particular fashion, because if you're not doing that, then the impact sub literally gets wasted. So call it a disadvantage of having an impact sub coming in or an impact batter coming in. That's where probably that batsmanship part is gone a little bit away from the game.
You said this yesterday, and I'm quite interesting, because I totally get where you're coming from, but the batters with the greatest skills and experience to reassess are also batting in the top 4, whether it's Kohli, whether it's Rohit Sharma, Rahane today. And you tend to think if they've gone, I'd much rather have them in the 5-6 position to reassess rather than Livingston and Jitesh, who you're asking to play a very different game. But it's the dichotomy of telling your top order, we need you to go hard, but you get Kohli out second over then. You don't have that version of Kohli because he's not had enough time to assess the situation or think, okay, this 160 pitch, 180 pitch. So I wonder how you look to address that.
That's an interesting concept. For me, I just look at the way that T20 is really gone, and it's about entry points. You get batters who are really good in your power play, and then you get batters who are really good from 7 to 10, 11 to 15, and then your finishers. Sometimes you almost want to give batters the freedom and say, listen, I don't need you to bat from 11 to 20 for me. I've got the players in my team down the order to be able to play that to the best of their abilities, and also that they're the best in the world with regards to strike rates. So go out there and go dominate the first 10 overs of the game. Because, if you come off, you're going to be a match winner for me. That's why you're batting where you're actually batting. Just to talk about Sunrisers in particular, I think that Hendrik Klaasen, from 7 to 15, is one of the most dangerous batters in the world. He's almost like a Surya Kumar.
Correct.
And he should be batting there. But he's almost been moved down to sort of 14 to 20. And I don't think that they're getting that right, in particular with that batting lineup. Him batting at number 6 is way too low. If you look at his strike rates from 7 to 15, that's where the spinners are bowling, and that's where he's really good. He dominates spin. And it makes captains change their whole strategy if he's batting, because they're not going to give him too many overs of spin. Yeah,
I'm just thinking like those metrics are usually designed for what you consider general practice of T20s, which is not collapses. But suddenly we're seeing collapses, and whether it's just us talking about it because of 3 games or 4 games, and it's not a word that's being discussed. Okay, that's not going to happen every game. It'll happen 1, maybe 2, and maybe we don't need to, teams aren't discussing this as much as we are. Do you sense?
It'll be interesting with Sunrisers. I think Kishan has such a big role, doesn't he? Because he's almost that hinge point between the openers. And then, as Mark says, they've got 3 really dominant players actually of spin in the middle order, and Nitish Kumar Reddy. We've seen Aniket Verma has been brilliant against spin so far, hitting 6s at will, and Klaasen as well. So if you can get into a position where the top 3 can get you through the power play and put you in a really strong position in the first 6 overs, then those guys, you're almost not too fussed if you lose a wicket through the middle, because you know that the next guy coming in is going to be so dominant against the spinners. But the problem so far has been, obviously since the first game where they were incredibly dominant, they've lost clumps of wickets in the power play, which has been a big issue.
It's a funny one, because they actually were 62 for 2 at the end of the power play against Sunrisers. And the last 3 games in the Sunrisers last game against LSG, the last 3 games we've seen, KKR lost 4, LSG lost 3, RCB lost 3. So that's, I guess, where the power play is being affected by batters going very hard. Anyway, who cares if you're the Sunrisers? That's the team. They're going to come hard. That's what we expect. Let's have a look at whether they've reacted in any form. Oh, indeed they have. First game in the IPL for Sri Lanka's Kamindu Mendis and Simarjeet Singh will also be back in the side. So they've actually led. This is the bowling first 11. No Travis Head, which means they've also done away with Abhinav Manohar. And by naming 3 overseas, they leave the option of only Head in. There's no Wayne Mulder, I guess.
Impact.
Just 3 and Head becomes your 4th. So this is a slight change. Head, we expect, doesn't like to field, so we understand that bit. But they have changed things up. Kamindu Mendes has come in today. Sanjay?
I think this also clearly suggests that the surface is going to play a part as well, because you have a Jishan Ansari there, and not having Zampa means the bulk of the bowling will have to be done by Jishan Ansari. But a surprising twist, actually. I'm a little bit surprised with Kaminda Mendes' inclusion.
I mean, Mendes is known more for his long form batting and is a capable spinner in the longer formats. His T20 credentials, is it fair to say, yet to be established?
Yeah, relatively limited, not played that much of the format, but he obviously has the rare skill of being able to bowl finger spin with both arms. He can bowl his slow left armers or his off break.
I've heard that. He is ambidextrous, but I haven't seen much of the ambidextry at high level. But I know, could we see that today for the first time in the IPL?
It'd be exciting, wouldn't it? But yeah, I think also it probably says something to the impressive performance of Ansari in the last game, the fact that they backed him as their frontline leg spinner ahead of Zampa seemingly in this game.
I mean, he's already been... Zishan Ansari's come in ahead of Rahul Chahar, who I don't believe has any injuries. So that's a selection call. But can you decipher anything from the inclusion of Kamindu Mendes today?
Yeah, I personally thought that they'd probably give Zampa another go. Maybe that's a matchup that they're looking at as well. Mendes maybe bowling in the power play. There's maybe 1 or 2 matchups against the Calcutta lineup as well.
Yeah.
You got Quinton de Kock there as well. Probably hasn't faced too much of him. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm interested to see only 3 internationals in their starting lineup, which makes the impact player quite interesting for them.
But just Travis Head. Got to be Travis Head when they bat first. That's the bowling.
You'd like to think so.
So there's no change. They can't include Wayne Mulder like they did last time. If this is ever an indication by Mendes, who I hope he has a good IPL, but given his credentials are in the longer format, if this is an indication that we need someone to just arrest the momentum if it drops, or if we're in free fall, someone to just catch us and stabilize things, take it deep. I wonder if that is it.
And for me, that can be achieved by a little shift in the batting lineup when they do get to bat in the second innings.
Right.
Aniket Verma at 4 and Nitish Reddy at 6 could be the thing which can really balance out things in favor of SRH in terms of, playing the lower order pretty well. Nitish has done that really well last season. He made his name batting at number 6, 7. Also, the impressive debut that he had, he was good lower down the order. So, I believe that Nitish is more cut out for that sort of a role. Leave the spin part to Aniket Verma, who's just looked quite fabulous.
I love these games where teams make changes, wholesale changes, change the balance of their team, because at the end of tonight, someone's going to look like a genius and someone's not. And we get to just sit on our couches and tell who's what. Right, time for the most exciting phase of the game, because the power play dictates so much on how IPL games are decided. It's time for our Maruti Suzuki Arena presents Power Play Conversations. Let's go. KKR batting first. Narayan at the top of the order. Matt Roller's got everything you need on how to stop Narayan. Go on, Matt.
I'm not sure about that. I think teams would be paying me good money if I had those answers.
The hesitancy. It's good to sit here with confidence and tell us what you've got. You've dug out all that data.
Yeah, well, so the info I have on Narayan, basically, since the start of last season, the clear trend in the power play is that if you don't get him in the first couple of overs, you're in big, big trouble.
Okay.
If you look at his strike rate by over, you can see that once the ball stops swinging, which tends to be very early on in the IPL, that's when he gets incredibly destructive. You look at those strike rates in excess of 200 in the 4th, 5th, 6th over. It's not a real surprise, but that is where Narayan really cashes in once there's no longer that lateral movement. And from sort of digging into the data a little bit in terms of Narayan and looking at lines and lengths that we've logged, or our scorers have logged over the past year and a bit now, the key thing I think is bowling straight. So this is seamers with the new ball. There's not that much in terms of length data. There's not a sort of huge discrepancy between short, full, good length. But there is a big discrepancy between bowling straight, bowling on the stumps, tucking him up if you're bowling short, or bowling full like Trent Boult did on Monday night.
Correct.
Versus offering him the width where he can free his arms and go either side of the wicket. So I think that the key thing, if you think of tonight's game, is probably going to be Mohamed Shami bowling a good line to him. But I think more generally, it seems to be that if you don't get Narayan in the first couple of overs, he's going to get you.
That's very impressive. If I were looking to hire an analyst, now you two have done that. So you two have actually planned for Narayan. So now you all can tell me how impressive that was.
But at times you have to rein in the analysis.
Matt, no, I give you full marks for trying. Now you can add the real world wisdom to that in terms of plans to Narayan.
See, I would want, whether that will happen or not, Pat Cummins to bowl to Sunil Narayan.
Right.
Because you want your best bowler to be bowling at a time when you have probably the most destructive pair from the opponent. So if they're going that way, that will be great. If they do not, then I expect Shami to come straight away around the wicket to both Quinny and Sunil Narayan and Simarjit to attack with the short ball. So I don't really foresee spin being bowled in the power play.
Mark?
Yeah, fully agree with that. I think that Narayan he's a dangerous player. But I think he prefers the gentler pace, and I think he's up against guys who can get 1 or 2 through here, which means his weight is a touch back, and then it makes it very difficult for him to hit guys back over their heads. So I don't see Narayan being a threat to this bowling attack, to be brutally honest.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I mean, is that something you discussed last season as well, given how good Narayan's season with bat was, but felt like MI with bowling that you had last year?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, as I said, he's dangerous, but it depends on how the wicket plays as well. You have to get 1 or 2 through past his ears just to push his weight back. Predominantly he hits spin really well and he hits medium paces really well. I do agree that once he gets away, then his tail's up and then he becomes very dangerous. Those first 10 balls, you got to let him know that the paces are around and it's not going to be a easy and a nice little joyful innings for him.
Okay, so you got Cummins there, you got Mark saying let's attack Narayan with the pace. Shami is certainly among the quickest bowlers they have. The matchup does favour Mohammad Shami. Let's just have a look at that. Sunil Narayan, strike rate is 78 and you've got an average of 7. Well, it's not bad if you're Mohammad Shami. And what do we have against Quinton de Kock? Let's find out, because this looks like a matchup that favours Mohammad Shami. It's fair to say, perhaps, Sanjay, while Shami is playing for his new franchise, we haven't seen that Shami that impacted the power play so effectively for GT and seasons before that. I mean, only a matter of time, or anything that you're noticing about Shami this season?
I mean, his wrist still is in a very good position, so I'm not really expecting too much of a change in terms of whether he's gone away from what he's been doing. For me, Calcutta is one venue wherein, especially in the early evening, the ball does tend to move a little bit, and that could be the window of opportunity for Shami to make early inroads.
Yeah, tough start. 2 wickets, average of over 50, economy over 11. One of those games was that 800-run fest or whatever it was in Hyderabad. And the other one below par score. So you feel for Mohammad Shami. This is ground he knows very well. Groundsman he knows very well. Can't mention him enough. Right, this is where we get to the fun part of the conversation. Mark, this is where I ask you for a first innings prediction. I will provide you with some assistance. ESPN Cricinfo's forecaster. That's something else you need to look out for over the next few days. Forecaster is still loading. So you will tell me what the first innings score looks like. Matt Roller first up.
A pretty high scoring venue, isn't it? Eden Garden. So let's go for a nice round 200.
200. Sanjay Bangar?
185.
Okay, just a little low balling it. Mark Boucher?
I'm going 180, and purely because of the teams that they've selected. They've obviously seen something in that pitch that it's difficult for us to see from here.
I like it, 180. You know, my job, among many other things, as Sanjay knows and is bored of me saying, is to make you guys look good. So I go for something outrageous, so that you're always going to be closer to the final score than me. So I'm just going to say Sunrisers have a really good day today and low ball this game somewhere in 150, 160. Wow. That's what I think will happen here. Anyway, Narayan is out there, de Kock is with him, and Mohammad Shami has started around the wicket almost instantly. Was that the first ball? They already got around the board, so he's probably started with an extra.
He prefers to go around the wicket with the left-handers anyway. And you just see.
Did I say 160? Did I mean 165? Just 5 that Shami's
160 after 15 overs.
Mark, thank you very much. Sanjay Bangar and Matt as well. Forecasters finally shown up, and it says 209. Interesting. Sure. Okay, let's see where the game stands. Join us for analysis with Mark Boucher, Sanjay Bangar, Matt Roller at the end of the KKR innings. Big game for both sides. And we'll be with you for Maruti Suzuki Arena Presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout as soon as the innings is done.
How do I do it all? The Brezza gives me the power.